When Nell felt lonely, she spoke to empty rooms just to hear a voice. One night, she knocked 3 times on her bedroom wall. Something beneath the wallpaper knocked back and whispered her name. Nell did not answer. Still, by morning, the front door had disappeared. One day earlier, Nell arrived at Bellweather House with her father, 2 suitcases, and the familiar ache that this enormous place would not be home for long. Tomas repaired old buildings. Whenever one job ended, they moved. Nell stopped learning street names, or the names of children she would soon leave. Bellweather House was enormous and dusty. When Nell called down a hallway, her voice came back so late it almost sounded like company. Tomas promised this move might be the last. But the West Wing ceiling fell, and his promise disappeared beneath his work. "I'm sorry, Nell," he said. He spent their first evening repairing it while she ate alone. Candle in hand, Nell climbed toward a bedroom so quiet that she wished the rain would answer when she spoke. That night, with Papa still working, Nell called for him. Only her echo answered. She knocked 3 times on the wall beside her bed. 3 knocks returned from inside the wall. Nell tapped 2 quick knocks and 1 slow knock. The wall returned every beat. Nell leaned closer. A quiet child's voice said, "Nell." She had not told a single child in town her name. She woke Tomas, but the wall stayed silent for him. He checked the pipes and said old walls sometimes carried sounds from other rooms. "Pipes don't know my name," Nell whispered after he left. In the morning, Tomas went downstairs and stopped. The front door was gone. Faded wallpaper covered the wall from ceiling to floor. Tomas pressed his key against it as if the lock might still be hiding there. Nell remembered the answering knocks and watched the wallpaper where the lock should have been. Searching for another exit, Tomas found an old house ledger. Each bedroom had once been listed beside a child's name, but several names had been rubbed away. Nell found her own bedroom at the bottom. Its line was blank. Then 3 slow knocks sounded from the wall where the front door had vanished. The house knocked 3 more times, leading Nell upstairs. In her bedroom, she found a seam in the wallpaper. She peeled it back and uncovered a narrow green door that had not been there before. Nell opened the small door and found a sunny playroom, though rain still struck her bedroom window. A wooden train moved by itself. 2 cups of tea waited, and 1 chair pulled itself out. Beneath the table, 3 deep marks ended at an old crack. A smaller 4th mark cut across them, as if interrupting their pattern. "I hoped you would knock again," said a child from the darkness behind the tall wardrobe. "I have been waiting a very long time." His voice sounded relieved, but he refused to step into the light. His name was Rowan. From the shadows, he sent 1 wooden engine racing beside another. Nell laughed, until sunlight touched Rowan's hand, and she could see through it. Nell laughed so loudly at Rowan's wooden train that she did not hear Tomas call her name. Rowan went quiet. "The house doesn't like people leaving," he whispered. When Nell turned to go back to her father, the green door had disappeared. Nell knocked once. A green door formed in the opposite wall. Beyond it, stairs dropped toward Tomas's shout. Nell ran down into the kitchen, where bricks slid across the window and shut out the rain. Nell reached the kitchen just as Tomas struck the bricks where the window had been. "The green door appeared when I knocked," Nell said, "and then the window vanished." Tomas looked between them. "I think each room it gives us costs us something outside. It may be trading our exits." Tomas took up his axe. The first wall he broke opened into another furnished room. He struck a second wall. Another inner room waited beyond it. Nell returned to Rowan and demanded the truth. He moved deeper into the shadows. "The house is lonely," he said. "When you answer it, it learns what you want. Then it makes a room for it." Rowan had knocked on the same wall long ago. First the house gave him toys. Then it took every way out. Rowan drew farther into shadow. "Mama, I'm here," he remembered calling. His mother passed the hidden door without turning, searching for a child whose name she could no longer remember. Nell ran downstairs. Tomas was studying the 2 supper bowls from the night before. "This one is mine," he said slowly. "But the other, who is it for?" Nell said, "Papa, it's me." Tomas held her face in both hands. "I know you," he said, panicked. "I just can't find your name." Nell held tightly to Tomas's sleeve and pulled him toward a window that showed the rainy village road. For a moment, his eyes lost her. "Why are you holding me?" he asked. "Because we're getting out," Nell said. He broke the glass, but another bedroom waited directly beyond the frame. They drew red chalk arrows pointing forward to mark their path. Beside each arrow, Tomas wrote Nell, so he would not lose her name. The hallways kept changing. When they returned to the missing front door for the 3rd time, an arrow that had pointed forward now pointed behind them, and Nell had faded to N. 3 knocks sounded from the wall, inviting Nell to answer. "Don't," Rowan warned. "That is how it begins." Farther inside, a frightened child answered the house with 3 knocks. "Mama, I'm still here," the child whispered. Another voice called from the floor below, then another from the room above. Nell listened as hidden children stirred throughout Bellweather House. The changing hallway split Nell from Tomas. As she searched for him, the house opened a room directly in her path. It had shelves of books, warm summer sunlight, and a desk where the name it was stealing, Nell, was carved into the wood. For one hopeful second, it looked like the home Nell had always wanted. Rowan's voice followed through the wall behind her. "Don't go in." "Part of me wants you to stay," Rowan admitted. "No one moves away in here." Nell leaned one step toward the sunlight before she stopped. Rowan reached for Nell, but the doorway snapped his hand backward as if a rope had tightened. Sunlight passed through his unchanged, ghostly hand. Nell stepped away and closed the door. "A real home would let you come with me," she said. Guided by Rowan's voice, Nell found the playroom and tipped over the table. While Tomas searched the shifting halls for her, she tested the 4 marks. 3 knocks opened a green seam. Before it became a door, she added the 4th. The seam snapped shut, and a hairline of gray daylight appeared beside it. Nell tried again. 3 opened the house's offer. The 4th refused it and widened the daylight. "The last knock means no," she said. From the next wall, a child answered with the same 4 beats. The crack widened. Another refusal sounded below, and cold rain breathed through. Nell set her knuckles against the wall. "Pass it on," she called. "The house kept us one at a time. We leave together." Nell knocked 4 times. Rowan carried the refusal into the next wall, and one hidden child passed it to another. Tomas followed the spreading sound through the shifting halls. Window latches reappeared. Cold air moved through the cracks. Downstairs, the outline of the stolen front door returned, but it had no handle and no seam. The corridor buckled like folded paper and spilled Nell into the entrance hall beside their abandoned suitcases. Tomas, following the chain of knocks, burst from a side passage a heartbeat later. Nell wrote "Daughter," across his palm in red chalk, seized his hand, and ran toward the returning outline of the front door. The hallway stretched longer with every step. New rooms opened on both sides of the hallway. One showed Tomas a finished home where Nell would never have to move again. He slowed. Nell squeezed his hand, and they ran on. Another showed Rowan alive and walking outside beside her, but Nell kept her eyes on the real door. Behind them, the letters of Nell's name faded from the suitcase. Then even the last sound of her name disappeared from Tomas's memory. He stopped, unable to remember who held his hand, or why they were running. Tomas saw the red chalk on his palm. Daughter. He tightened his grip. "I may forget your name," he said, "but I know you are my daughter, and I will not let you go." Nell and Tomas reached the sealed outline and struck 4 times. The trapped children passed the refusal from wall to wall. Each child's 4 knocks restored another piece of the exit. A handle grew beneath Nell's hand, and the seam opened. But the house still braced the door shut. The house knocked 3 times, offering Nell another room if she would stay. Nell let go of the door. "I know what it feels like to wait for someone to answer," she said. "But if you do not let us leave, we are not choosing to stay." She looked up at the listening walls. "Open every door. Let everyone go. Then, if someone comes back, you will know they came because they truly wanted to." Nell answered the house's invitation with 4 knocks. No. Every child repeated them once. Then Nell lowered her hand, and the children fell silent. When the house asked again with 3 knocks, no one answered. Tomas stepped beside Nell. Bellweather House heard only its own echo. For one fearful moment, nothing moved. Then, from deep inside, the house gave one uncertain knock and waited for nothing. The front door swung open. Every window flew wide, and real rain and gray morning light entered the rooms again. Rowan emerged from the house's last shadow. Daylight passed through him. He smiled and said Nell's name once more, then walked through the open front door and disappeared. Behind him, the house stayed open and silent. After Rowan, other children stepped from the walls. As the house returned what it had taken, each erased name reappeared in the old ledger. Tomas read every name aloud. Each child smiled at the sound, then crossed the open door. When the last name returned, the walls held no shadows. When the last child was free, Tomas closed his tool case. "The work here could take a long time," he said. "Do you want to stay?" Nell looked at the open front door. "Yes, but it stays open." By spring, the village had helped them turn Bellweather House into a library, with its door propped open from morning until dusk. When Nell's friends arrived through the open door, she greeted the old green wallpaper with 1 knock. 1 gentle knock answered. The door remained open, and nothing disappeared. Next, the boy who said yes to everyone, where every promise becomes a thread pulling him apart. Follow Wandering Tales and meet us at the next open door.